I love the hustle, man.
So this article is about a black man who was falsely accused of stealing by an AI bot. So let's go ahead and get into it. This is the New York Times article, and I'm going to just zoom in right quick so that way we can see it. So it says, thousands of dollars for something I didn't do. Because of a bad facial recognition match and other hidden technology, Randall Reed spent nearly a week in jail falsely accused of stealing purses in a state he said he never seen or visited before. And imagine that if you had never been somewhere, imagine getting arrested. And this is all just an AI bot. This is crazy. So this is the guy right here. So this guy named Randall Reed, he was jailed after he was mistaken for a Louisiana suspect during a traffic stop near Atlanta. This one came out earlier this year. It actually just got updated in April 6th. So it came out March 31st and updated April 6th. All right, so it says, on the Friday afternoon after Thanksgiving, Randall Reed was driving his white Jeep. You know, he was riding down his white Jeep to his mother's house outside of Atlanta. You know, you got to say Atlanta like this. You got to say Atlanta. You ain't saying no T's up in Atlanta. You don't say Atlanta. You say Atlanta. All right. When he was pulled over on a busy highway, a police officer approached his vehicle and asked for his driver's license. Mr. Reed had left it at home. Dang, you can't be doing that, bruh. You cannot be leaving your driver's license. You got to have your driver's license at all times because you never know. You know, usually when things happen, they always happen on a weekday. He got lucky. It happened on a Friday. But usually when something goes wrong, something always going to happen on like a Wednesday or something like that. Like your car break down, you get pulled over by the police, something like that. It always happen on a weekday. Never fails. But he got lucky on a Friday. All right. Not lucky. I mean, you know, obviously he got pulled over. But hey, it could have been during the weekday. He could have lost his job and stuff like that. So let's say this. So he left his driver's license at home, but he volunteered his name. After asking Mr. Reed if he had any weapons, the officer told him to step out of the Jeep and handcuffed him with the help of two other officers who had arrived. Now, for all the people who know about the laws in Atlanta or in Georgia, can they do this? Can they just ask you to step out of your vehicle and like without telling you why? He says, "What did I do?" Mr. Reed asked. The officer said he had 2 theft warrants out of Baton Rouge and Jefferson Parish, a district on the outskirts of New Orleans or Nolens. I heard some people say Nolens. I don't know if that's true or not. But New Orleans. Mr. Reed was confused. He said he had never been to Louisiana. Mr. Reed, a transportation analyst, was booked at the DeKalb County Jail, so that's on the east side of Atlanta, to await extradition to Georgia from Georgia to Louisiana. It took days to find out exactly what he was accused of: using stolen credit cards to buy designer purses. That sounds crazy. That sounds crazy as a mug, man. You use it to buy designer purses? He tried to buy them Birkin bags or something like that. It says, "I'm locked up and it won't let me out. I'm locked up for something I have no clue about." Okay, I wasn't trying to rhyme right there. I just ad-libbed that, you know. His parents made phone calls, hired lawyers, and spent thousands of dollars to figure out why the police thought he was responsible for the crime, eventually discovering it was because Mr. Reed bore a resemblance to a suspect who had been recorded by a surveillance camera. The case eventually fell apart and the warrants were recalled. but only after Mr. Reed spent 6 days in jail. Ooh, that's terrible. And missed a week of work. Oh man, I hate that for him. Cause imagine you tell you can't even get in contact with your boss. Your boss over here trying to fire you because you get in jail. I wonder if he lost his job though. Mr. Reed's wrongful arrest appears to be a result of a cascade of technologies, beginning with a bad facial recognition match that are intended to make policing more effective and efficient, but can also make it far too easy to apprehend the wrong person for a crime. None of the technologies are mentioned in official documents, and Mr. Reed was not told exactly why he had been arrested. A typical but troubling practice. Yeah, why is that? Why is it that if somebody gets pulled over or arrested or whatever, they don't actually get told what they are actually getting arrested for? In a democratic society, we should know what tools are being used to police us. This is what the lawyer at the American Civil Liberties Union says. All right, so it says, in a panic, Mr. Reed's family immediately retained an Atlanta lawyer from the Cochran firm. He could not get Mr. Reed out of jail, and he struggled to gather more information. He suggested that the family members hire someone in Louisiana, so they called law firms in Jefferson Parish and Baton Rouge until they found Thomas. I'm not going to pronounce his last name, a criminal defense lawyer. They retained him that Sunday, and it says that the lawyer found out that Mr. Reed was accused of the summer thefts of 2 Chanel purses and a brown Louis Vuitton bag, collectively worth only 3 bags? That's crazy as a mug. 3 bags? He says two Chanel purses and 1 Louis Vuitton bag that cost $13,000. That's crazy. Would y'all pay $13,000 for 3 bags? Second act is the store that they stole it from. It says a consignment store on the outskirts of New Orleans. So this is the lawyer, went to the store and talked to the owner and showed him a still frame from a surveillance camera. He realized that one of the alleged fraudsters looked like Mr. Reed, but the man was heavier. So we all look the same. That's pretty much what it's getting to. The guy had big arms and my client doesn't, the lawyer said. The sheriff's officer insisted that it was a positive match, language that made the lawyer believe that facial recognition technology had been used. And he spoke to the New Orleans news outlet, so that's on NOLA.com, about what he believed had happened. A person with direct knowledge and investigation confirmed that the New York Times that facial recognition technology had been used so they didn't want to tell them what had been used, but they had to find out what had been used. Yet none of the documents used to arrest him disclosed that. Yep. Who in the world do you know named Bartholomew? Put a 1 in the chat. You ever met somebody with the name Bartholomew? Andrew Bartholomew, a Jefferson Parish financial crimes detective who sought the warrant to arrest Mr. Reed, wrote in the affidavit only that he had been advised by a credible source that the heavyset black male was Mr. Reed, reached by phone. It's untenable to me as a matter of basic criminal procedure that people who are subject to arrest are not informed of what got them there. The sheriff's office has contracted with one facial recognition vendor, says Clearview AI, which pays $25,000 a year, according to documents obtained by the Times. Dang. Yeah, so they've been using this Clearview AI. Even if Clearview AI came up with the initial result, that is the beginning of the investigation by law enforcement to determine, based off on other factors, whether the correct person had been identified. More than 1 million searches have been conducted using this AI. One false arrest is one too many. And we have tremendous empathy for the person who was wrongfully accused. Dang, imagine that. Because I already know that AI has a bad reputation right now for like facial recognition for black people. And obviously this guy is a black guy. Got accused of stealing 3 purses in a state that he's never even been to. Didn't even make sense how he could even go all the way from Louisiana to Atlanta and then just be there. He probably had an alibi too. Well, which is not actually being from Louisiana and not actually have been to Louisiana. If facial recognition was misclassifying white people, white men, or white women, it would not be on the shelf, he said. Some of us and some of our communities are expendable. What do you guys think about that? Do you think that statement is correct? Is that the reason why they don't want to change that? They just they got a positive match and then ended up arresting this guy, making him miss work, making him miss 6 days out of his life, sitting in jail for something he didn't do. And it was obvious he didn't do it. There are real questions about whether it increases the incidence of judges rubber stamping warrants. So this is what the deputy director said. And then we have the video here of the guy getting arrested as well.
No, I just know that
So yeah, that's definitely Atlanta police. That's the body camera from the DeKalb County Police over there must be over there by Decatur. He must be on I-20. That's what that looks like. It looks like I-20 to me. He says, I was driving the normal speed. I wasn't doing anything crazy. This is what Mr. Reed said the day of his arrest. The 2 warrants for the arrest asked for a full extradition, meaning being sent back to Louisiana, which is not where he's from. All right. Why exactly Mr. Reed and his white Jeep attracted the DeKalb County Police's attention that day is unclear. The arresting officer wrote in an incident report that he had learned about Mr. Reed's warrant from a random GCIC, NCIC query of the vehicle tag. Referring to the National Crime Information Center and FBI repository of wanted persons and vehicles and the Georgia Crime Information Center. It's possible the officer saw Mr. Reed driving by and for some reason decided to run his license plate. Now let me tell you guys this. So my dad was a police officer, right? And he would tell me that you can stop pretty much anybody on the highway for any reason, and then you probably would be able to say, oh, well, there's going to be something wrong. You're going to find something wrong with what they did. Now, does it make it right? I don't think so. But I think that this is what happened, is that he saw this car, he saw this black guy driving his white Jeep. He's like, well, regardless of anything, even if he's not doing anything wrong, there's going to be something wrong that you can come up with. All right, so it says there's a lot of secrecy about all of these surveillance technologies and the way that they're used. And this is what, who was Mr. Kleeman? Molly Kleeman is the director of Technology Policy Research Center at the University of Michigan. And she says, this case is a perfect example that even when the tool works as intended, if the underlying data is flawed, it can still harm innocent people. All right, so that's all I wanted to kind of go through. I just want to see. Let me see if he actually. Let's see if he got his job, if he lost his job or he kept his job. Imagine you're living your life and somewhere far away says you committed a crime, and you've never been there. That's what the guy said. Mr. Reed said. It says, unfortunate by all means. After further investigation, it was learned that Randall Reed was not involved in the crimes committed, and they recalled the warrant. So at least it got recalled. Hopefully he gets some money for it, for the wasted thousands of dollars he had to spend. It says thousands of dollars for something I didn't do. It says Mr. Robinson, the color of change president, said most people in the United States did not have thousands of dollars to clear their names. These people will have names and stories we will never know. He said they will languish in jails and prisons. All right, so that is a sad story, but it does bring up the use of AI technology and how they didn't even use discernment in order to make this arrest or follow through with this warrant. It is extremely sad. Hopefully he kept his job and he gets his money back and then some, right? Just for the fact that he was put into jail for 6 days, for almost a week, for something he didn't do, which was obvious he didn't do it.